Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. Don't let them think we're together. That's what she whispered in my ear right as her new boss approached, extending a hand. No thanks for coming. No, I'm glad you're here. Just 7 words, clean and sharp, snapping something taut in my chest like a wire stretched too far. Her fingers lingered lightly on my elbow, polite but distant. As soon as her boss arrived, she slid into a laugh I hadn't heard in years. The flirty kind she used with professors back in grad school when she wanted deadline extension. That laugh had once been mine. Now it belonged to them. I didn't make a scene, didn't twitch an eyebrow. My hand fell from her back as if weighed down, and I walked away slowly, deliberately, weaving through the glittering pockets of glasses clinking in corporate laughter. No one stopped me. No one even saw me. That was the point, right? Don't let them see. She didn't want me visible. So I vanished, except one man noticed. One man who wasn't laughing. He sat alone at a corner table, champagne untouched, only a small glass of water by his side. No tie, charcoal suit, expensive but quiet. He looked like someone used to watching the room move around him, not out of pride, but careful calculation. When I reached him, he looked up and gave a subtle nod. The kind men give when words are wasted and reputations already understood. I sat across the room. She floated, glowing like it was her coronation. I had helped her pick the dress, black with a deep green shimmer. Not bold, but enough to catch a second glance. I told her it made her look like a strategist. She had replied, "That's the goal." She had looked back once, not when the CEO passed and visibly did a double take, not when the VP of sales approached Bernard with a formal, "Sir," not when the room's laughter softened, shifting attention. She kept her hand on the director of strategy's wrist just a second too long, sipped her wine unaware that the room had shifted. The focus was no longer on her alone. And a quick note here, if quiet betrayals and unexpected reversals intrigue you, hit that subscribe button. Seriously, it helps the team keep these stories coming. Back to the story. I had known Bernard Lee for years, not socially, professionally. One of those ghost whales in investment circles. Silent, invisible, and devastating when he moved. He rarely attended galas, but this time he asked me to join. He wanted a clean read on the leadership culture before finalizing his offer. He didn't know she worked here. She hadn't told anyone she was married. We'd long stopped overlapping professionally after she called my clients boring. She had always resented that I didn't have a title or a flashy office. I let her enjoy being the ambitious one. But that whisper, those words, changed everything. Not just the words, but the tone. Practiced, detached, as if I were a tag-along and not the man who had paid her tuition. Proofread cover letters, sat through failed interviews, bought her heels for a final panel round. She had once told me she wanted to lead, so I helped her become someone who could occupy these rooms. And now I was a liability. Our corner had a slightly raised platform, whether by design or accident. From there, Bernard and I could see everything. Every clink, every false smile. As the night progressed, patterns shifted. Executives stopped looking through me. They glanced, measured, curious. Power isn't announced. It's observed. Bernard watched silently. Occasionally, he'd ask, "Is that one hers?" I'd reply with names and background in a calm, low voice. The assignment was clear: assess leadership culture. I hadn't expected the cancer to be familiar. When dessert arrived, he asked, "Do you trust her judgment?" I didn't glance at her. I sipped my drink. "Not anymore," I said, and then I saw it. Her introducing herself to another investor, emphasizing wins, cultural alignment, finally locking eyes with me. Her smile froze, awkward, as if her brain had just caught up. She blinked, laughed, said something to her companion. But beneath the surface, calculation began. Now, people weren't just watching her, they were watching me. Bernard and I. She floated, practiced, precise. Hand on sleeves, chin tilted, laugh calibrated. She had always been good at reading a room, commanding attention. I used to admire that. Now, It looked like a magician's trick seen too many times. You stop being impressed and start expecting failure. She had no idea the script had changed. Her CEO, mid-conversation with the CFO, noticed our corner. I didn't acknowledge him. Bernard didn't either. He returned to sipping water, distant. That alone should have told the CEO everything. Across the room, she still basked, unaware the nucleus had shifted. Bernard spoke again, low. She presents well, but she doesn't listen. I said nothing. He was right. For years, I had protected her from this world. Briefings, compliance offsites, investor weekends. She'd grown comfortable, mistaking visibility for influence. Now she was surrounded by both, unable to distinguish the difference. Lights dimmed slightly. People moved toward tables. She looked toward our corner again, twice, thrice. Conflicted, adjusting posture, pausing. The temperature dropped. She realized too late. 3 weeks prior, I had been in a gray, sterile room with nothing but a vent and a silent printer. My friend Samir called, no pleasantries. You still do clean room files? That was code, board level, high stakes. I went in quietly, no badge, no traceable invoice. What I found wasn't criminal, but sloppy. Misclassifications, improper onboarding, aggressive vendor discounts. Things that wouldn't make headlines but could destroy deals. I rebuilt it, created parallel compliance narratives, paid handsomely, offered something better, a private invitation. Bernard Lee wanted to read on leadership culture before a major acquisition. I hadn't told her. Why? She didn't know what I really did. For years, she assumed I was some harmless consultant. She liked being the ambitious one. I let her. When she got her dream job, I helped her pick dresses, practice mock interviews, never mentioned Bernard's stake in the firm. She had slipped little digs into our conversations, jabs disguised as jokes. I said nothing. Now at the gala, observing the subtle shift of power, I understood I didn't need to speak. My leverage was pre-installed. Her sentence, "Don't let them think we're a couple," wasn't the spark. It was the audit trigger. No one knew she was my wife. Not Bernard, not the board, not executives. She had scrubbed me from her professional life, blind to the advantage she overlooked. Me. The CEO didn't notice until he saw her, then me, seated beside Bernard. That man at the bar was the one who had saved their merger weeks ago. And she had whispered, "Don't let them think we're a couple." Bernard leaned in. She's ambitious. Not a compliment, just an observation. I nodded. She always has been. She discarded you quickly. I said nothing. Silence spoke. Atlas_0423_V2B. My file. No name, no logo. Entire compliance framework of her company. Drafted in bulletproof logic. My voice all over it. Not proof of ownership, but proof of understanding. In rooms like that, that's power. She didn't approach us. She couldn't. She misread the room, the hierarchy, the invisible authority. She was still performing, animated, projecting confidence, needing others to remember her energy. Then the CO appeared. Pale, immediate presence. She realized too late she'd skipped a step. The onboarding matrix had failed. Matt, her husband, had been invisible until now. Her whisper became the public record. The realization hit. She had misjudged the room, misjudged the men, misjudged herself. The silent authority had always been beside her, not behind her. 2 days later, a single-page memo arrived. No names, no drama, but devastating. Bernard Lee would not proceed with the acquisition. Leadership culture misaligned. Ethics under pressure. Precise, surgical, invisible unless you knew what to look for. Her name quietly surfaced in internal conversations. Videos, photos, seating charts, audio, all reviewed. Then the recording. "Don't let them think we're a couple." Captured mid-whisper, her soft laugh, her rehearsed smile. HR, legal, board, all looped in. She wasn't fired. She wasn't punished. She was erased. Present, accounted for, but invisible. Projects removed, Slack access limited, inbox slowed. Her calendar reduced a lunch and a weekly check-in. She was radioactive. "Finally," she called. "Is this because of me?" I didn't answer directly. I explained what she didn't understand. Her words weren't casual. They carried consequence. Her posture, confidence, all wilting under reality. Bernard didn't yell, didn't lecture. He simply executed. He left quietly, taking nothing, leaving her with the aftermath. No slam, no note, just a truth she had never accounted for. That whisper wasn't private. That sentence alone had shifted power. She realized too late. She hadn't polished herself for influence. She had rehearsed visibility. Tuesday, overcast, humid. She entered the boardroom. Her slide deck replaced. Emails redirected. Projects reassigned. Her title remained meaningless. Silence louder than accusation. The walls had closed. She just hadn't noticed. Then came the envelope. Gray, heavy.